to NNR round 3 at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia. I am joined by the wonderful league owner, Mr. Giants. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tom?
I'm just doing fantastic on this slightly cloudy qualifying session. So as we wait for some of the drivers to start their out laps, it is a little bit cloudy, but it looks like we are on the soft tires. So no rain like some of the drivers I know hope for. So who are your ones to watch in this qualifying session?
Yeah, so I definitely think that Jetty always has very strong qualifying pace in any league race, really, and especially around Russia. I think AJ is another driver to watch, who we see coming out right now in the Alfa Romeo, setting the first lap. We also see Jimsy, Coolx coming out as well, and they are two very fast drivers. So really, it's really up in the air who's going to set pole here today in Sochi. We have very competitive drivers here today, and we're just going to see what everyone can do, set a stunning lap. So it'll be very exciting. So here we have AJ right now coming out on his first lap. He's on his out lap right now, just warming up the tires in the Alfa Romeo. He had a very unfortunate race last week where we saw him DNF. He was the only DNF at the Hungaroring, so hopefully he will be able to improve this weekend. And maybe he could set a very nice qualifying position to set himself up for a very good race. We actually have Coolx, who was our last pole sitter, on his out lap as well, slightly behind a group of 2 cars ahead. And he's going to be trying to do his best to set a good lap here as well. We have Jetty out on an out lap as well, the AlphaTauri driver, trying to shock the world this week after having an amazing win last week at the Hungaroring. So here we have AJ right now coming across the final corner, going to start his lap. We're going to be on board with him the inaugural lap of the Russian GP. He crosses the start-finish line right now, and now he's heading towards turn 1, a very long straight. It was very important to get this turn 1 correct as it sets up the momentum for your next few turns. Let's see how he hits it. Hits the apex nicely, get on the throttle nice and early. Oh, and he spins it, right into the wall. That's very unfortunate for AJ in his opening lap. He is not going to be happy about that as his lap is essentially over now. Now we move over to Coolx coming down to turn 1. Putting that apex nice and deep. Now he's going to try to get on the throttle as soon as possible. The yellow flag is ahead. That's AJ. That unfortunately hit the wall right near the runoff area. He's pulled off to the side over there. Now we see Coolx coming down, trying to make everything out of this lap. He has 2 cars in front, the Racing Point and the Alfa Romeo. Will they move out for him? The Racing Point of either Awesome or Esteprada. Esteprada is actually in open air right now, so it's not Esteprada, it's Awesome, who's also on a hot lap right now. So let's see how this fares. As unfortunately, Coolx will not be able to overtake Awesome here as he's setting his hot lap. So Awesome is really going to have to get a move on if he doesn't want to impact Coolx's lap here. And you see Awesome really struggling for pace compared to Coolx here. Doing everything that she can to just keep up the pace, but Coolx is really on her gearbox. Trying to set the fastest lap possible, trying to potentially set a really nice banker. You can see that Awesome goes a little bit wide, or goes a little bit squirrely on the exit, loses the car a little bit, but Coolx is still stuck behind Awesome. Awesome is going to pull to the side and let Coolx through, but unfortunately Coolx lost a good amount of time through that. He's heading towards the final 2 turns right now, and he's going to be hoping to set a good lap even with that dirty air and a little bit of a holdup by Awesome. Let's see what type of lap he can set today. The Coolx sets a 132.4 with Plyful Keeps shortly behind with a 133.4 as well. About a second off of the P1 pole sitter. Coolx set a very nice lap, and we actually see Jetty as well set a 132.0, 1.4 seconds faster than P2 Coolx. What an amazing lap from Jetty. Very beautifully done. And we see that N7 actually set a 134.1 and Morph set a 134.7, and we actually see Mr. Tafter as well setting a 132.5. Some very nice laps coming out right now. And here we go on board with the Red Bull driver, Gummy Panda, on his hot lap right now, trying to finish his lap. We see Paradox just set a 134.898. Very solid lap from the new McLaren driver. He switched over from a Mercedes. And we see Honey Badger GTF, the Ferrari driver, who we haven't seen since Austria. He set a very nice lap, 132.4, and then Tech Jones as well sets a nice lap, 132.2. Very competitive times from these drivers in the top 5, essentially, top 6. Mickey DeWiz sets a 133 flat. Very impressive. And here we have Gummy Panda coming across the line now with 138.0. He's really going to want to improve on that lap. He must have had an unfortunate loss of the car somewhere in that lap. And here we have B++ on his hot lap right now. We actually see some damage. Is that the Ferrari of N-Buns ahead? Does he have damage on him? No, it does not look like visibly someone had damage over in the sector, but we saw the debris on the ground and the yellow flag, so I'm not sure who that was. Regardless, N-Bun is on his flying lap right now. We know that he's a very fast driver. I have AJ as well on his hot lap, or on his out lap, my bad. After a very sad little loss of the car in turn 1, and he unfortunately hit the wall, so we're going to see what he can do on his second lap out. Here we have N-Bun in the final sector. Going to be hoping for to be in the 132s like that top 5. Jetty, Tech Jones, Honey Badger, Coolx, and Mr. Taft are 5 very strong drivers who set incredible lap times. Will N-Buns be in contention with them? And we see N-Buns actually sets a 132.6, a very solid lap from the Ferrari driver. And we have the Alfa Romeo driver on the out lap right now of AJ, the other Ferrari-powered car. He's going to be trying to set a very nice lap after his teammate sets a 133.4. Very beautiful lap times coming out of these drivers, especially the top 6 currently, all within the 132s, very close between them. It is very uncertain right now with 10 minutes left in the session who will be taking away pole position.
Yeah, we definitely still have a lot more laps to run in this session, but Tech Jones on those mediums, the 32.2, that is blistering quick for the harder compounded tires. Your standard strategy here is just going to be a basic one-stop to soft medium tires, or if you can qualify within inside the top 10, as Jetty's actually going to go out on mediums to try to improve his soft banker lap. As I think the little bit faster of a strategy might be the medium softs, but either way, it'll set for an exciting race because tire wear isn't too high. It's going to be quick the whole way through. Tires aren't going to degrade too much. And so drivers are going to stay quick. They're going to stay consistent. And it's just going to be a really good showing.
Yeah, like you said, Tom, the preferred strategy is obviously, or it could be the medium sauce here. It really goes either way. I see most drivers electing to go on the sauce right now. I see AJ, who unfortunately spun in T1 earlier on his first lap, is going for his second hot lap right now. He's going to be trying to set the pace for himself and hopefully land himself within the top 6, who are all within the 132s right now. We can see that he's pushing the car very hard, locking up into both corners we've seen so far. He locks up once again a little bit. This driver is really taking everything out of the car and just trying to do everything he can with that Alfa Romeo engine. He's coming down the back straight now. Just trying to push the car to the absolute limit. We see 16 drivers have already set a lap, with the slowest being a 138.0 by the Red Bull driver of Gummy Panda. AJ obviously wants to improve on that, and he wants to go in the 132s after losing his wing in turn 1. Let's see where he can go. Shifting up into 4th gear before the final little straight here, and he's going towards the last 2 corners of the lap. Hooked the car very nicely in, and for the final turn, it's very crucial to have a good exit. Let's see where... Oh, AJ actually sets pole, 131.5. Beautiful lap from him. 5/10 faster than Jetty, the AlphaTauri driver, in P2 right now. We actually see Mo Seiden as well, set a 132.2. Very impressive from that McLaren driver who just shocked everyone, and he kind of forced himself on the second row of the grid. Very impressive lap from Mo Seiden there.
As here we have Jetty now coming on his lap. He's going to try to answer off of AJ's 31.5. Very respectable time. Can he beat that on the mediums? I'm very unsure. It's going to be a really tough lap for him, but I think he could definitely put one together. We know his pace. As he's coming down now into the run, into turn 1. Brakes nice and early on the brakes. A little bit of a lockup, but he takes the perfect amount of curve on the inside and outside as he actually elects to not hug that left side of the track, coming out right out of the turn. A little bit of a different line from the other drivers that we see. As now he throws it in, braking at the 70-meter board, just trying to carry the most amount of speed. Gets a little bit of oversteer on the exit, but keeps the car under control very nicely. Coming into the next right-hander of turn 4, he hooks the apex very nicely, takes a perfect amount of track on the outside, not getting too much on the AstroTurf because the traction does get a little slippery there. As we see a little bit of oversteer, he's still pushing on his lap though. As here we come into turns 7 and 8. Now, very hard on the brakes, coming down into our DRS zone, our second one of the track, as he's going to slap over that DRS as he is still hustling down this road, as he's going to reach his top speed of the track, braking super hard right before the 100-meter board. hooks the car very nicely, shifting up into fourth just on that apex. There he is on the acceleration. Make sure not to spin up here as traction gets really tricky as he has a little bit of oversteer. He's still pushing, though. There might be some time to find in these final 2 corners for him. As he takes the first right very nicely, takes a good amount of curb. And now to set himself up for the outlet. He actually has a huge lockup, and he can improve by about a tenth, but that's not going to move him up.
Yeah, right as that was happening, we actually see the Williams driver, Kulak, on the soft compound, setting a 131.2. Jetty was on the medium compounds, actually. I'm not sure if we caught that before. And he said a 131.9, so...
Oh, Jetty spins!
Oh, very...
And he hits the wall, loses an end plate. His tire is okay. No suspension damage for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, very unfortunate
for his medium stint over.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Jetty there. Obviously, he was trying for multiple laps on those mediums, hoping that they would come alive for a second or third lap, but... Fortunate for him, he just spun and hit the wall, and there goes his medium stints. Mr. Tafter just sets a 131.3, very impressive from the Renault driver. It's getting very, very hot and heavy in the top 6 right now. All these drivers are just pushing to their absolute limits to just try to set the pole time. Kulak right now, the Williams driver, the pole sitter from last weekend, actually is holding a 131.2, very impressive, as he wants to make a statement from a very disappointing race last weekend. We see Darth, Jimsy, and Funny Monkey.
Sorry to cut you off. As we're talking, we have Paradox on his lap right now. He is over 7 tenths up on his previous time as he is coming through the 3rd sector. As Kulak actually left the session, let me get him an invite as we look at Paradox right now, locking up a little bit, taking a little bit of a tight line, but his delta may still be very, very strong.
You see that Paradox is coming across the final 2 turns right now, hoping to improve on that 133.6, trying to set himself in the 132s or even the 131s. 133.0 Paradox goes just barely outside of the 132. Still very solid lap. P9 or P10, my apologies, for the McLaren driver. P8 and P10 for the McLaren right now. Very solid standings for the time being, but we see a very competitive top 4 or top 6 really. There's 6 different teams in the top 6, or top 7, my apologies, top 8. There's so many teams just trying to set the fastest laps possible. It's incredible to keep track of. We see every single team here in the top 8 just pushing to their absolute limit with one standout driver for each. And it's incredibly impressive here. We have Kulak joining back in the session. Very unfortunate that he disconnected there, and it looks like Mr. Tafter is abandoning his hot lap after a 131.3 for his previous. And here we have Enbon.
Enbon, he is a little over a second down, and his lap is invalid. So maybe just went a little bit wrong there. He's just going to try to maybe conserve the tires just a little bit as he makes his way back. As we actually have AJ in the 3rd sector, getting ready to start his final run of the session. Coming out with 4 minutes left. He wants that clean air. He doesn't really care about the track evolution, as it doesn't really change too much from 4 minutes to 2 minutes when most of these drivers start heading out. As he is coming through the final 2 corners to start his last lap of the session. He's gunning for pole. He wants it. We know his pace, and I think he can get it done if he keeps it tidy. This is going to be a very exciting lap to watch.
Yeah, we can see that he's in contention for pole right now with Kulak a 131.2. He's only 3/10 off, and he's on one of his final laps right now, or potentially his final lap on the softs, trying to beat that time and set pole in the Alfa Romeo, trying to set a statement this week after DNFing last week in the Hungaroring. Very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver. We see he's one of the only people out on hot laps right now besides Honey Badger, Morph, and Plyfo Keith and Gummy Panda. He has a lot of clean air here to work with, and will he be able to work with it? That is a real question. See, he's coming through Sector 2 right now.
A little bit of a slide. As he's actually showing up through the gears very early, I think. No, he is still pushing. Just a little bit of an oversteer moment. He wants to make sure that he, has a good amount of power down by doing that little bit of a short shift. As here we have slap open that DRS, coming down that straight. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. I believe that's the Mercedes. He is still driving, though. Still driving, so that is very good. As actually, AJ is 4/10 faster than his time. We could see him on that pole position spot for now before Kulak and Mr. Tafter can respond. As here he is coming through the final part of the track, up into 6th, up into 7th, hooking that car in very nicely to the first right-hander, taking a good amount of exit curb into the second one. No lockup, very good exit as he takes pole with a 130.7. That is a very fast time for AJ. That's going to be a very hard time for these drivers to beat, as Kulak is actually on his outlap right now.
Yeah, very impressive from the Alfa Romeo driver, going 5/10 faster than anyone else on track right now. Kulak's going out right now on his out lap for trying to set his final lap, trying to set a statement, trying to take back pole from that Alfa Romeo. It looks like, yeah, or unfortunately, he's only 5/10 off, so he's really going to just try to make up that difference. And in this final lap, we see track evolution is very crucial around this track. And hopefully we'll be able to make up some ground and take pole position once again. We see multiple drivers, very strong drivers out on their out laps right now. Jetty actually starting his hot lap with the 131.9, trying to improve on that on the softs instead of the mediums this time. Gonna see what he can do here.
Sounds like I'm missing qualifying or something.
Yeah, tad bit.
Welcome to the box, Rubix. You are a little late. Maybe just, munching on that food down in the paddock for a little too long, but it's all right.
No, my flight got delayed to Russia. You know how the Russians are.
I do. It's a very tricky airport to get around, but happy to have you here as we are on our qualifying session now.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, very
if
exciting.
one of you would be ever so kind as to stream your screen in here so I could join in on this. Thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah, no worries. As we have Jetty and Mickey DaWiz on their laps as we speak. As Kulix as well. So they are all going to be gunning for that top time. AJ is the man to beat on track right now. But we have a lot of drivers looking to respond.
There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. I wonder what exactly happened there. Maybe a car hit the wall or something. Not too many places to go off around Sachi. And we'll just see what the rest of the drivers can do for the last final part of this qualifying.
Oh, it looks like AJ actually retired from the session, so evidently that 130.7 was his final lap. We're watching Kulix right now, the Williams driver with the 131.2. Jetty just has P2 time.
He cannot beat AJ's time.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the AlphaTauri driver who was trying to set a statement after winning last week's race at the Hungaroring. We still see Kulak on a hot lap right now. He was the pole sitter last week at the Hungaroring. Let's see if he can do it again at Sochi. Put the Williams in the top row once again. He's coming around in the final sector right now in that little mini straight before the last two turns, trying to set a very good lap here to trump both AJ and Jetty. Let's see if he can do it. Coming around the final turn right now, very crucial to get a good exit. And it looks like he is unable to improve with the 131.2. Very unfortunate for Kulak. Here we have Mr. Tafter as well. Looks like he invalidated his lap. We're watching Mickey DeWiz now, the Red Bull driver in P5. He set a 131.7.
Oh, so he's out of ERS as he tried to gun for 2 laps on those soft tires. As he's just going to have no power output with that. As he actually he finishes up his lap. As we have Enbun right now, a tenth and a half. Close to a tenth and a half on his time. As that actually moves Jimsy into P4. Oh, I missed that one. Jimsy sets a 131.2. Very good lap from him.
And as you can see, Codemasters is deciding to pull out a yellow flag in all 3 sectors. So that's something interesting.
Yeah, we love to see
with a 2/10 improvement, but he cannot move himself anywhere.
I actually see that he overtook Mickey DeWiz in P6. Now he is standing in P6 M-Buns. In that third row, the grid.
Oh, apologies for that. B++ goes off the track.
Very unfortunate for the Haas driver who's in P19 right now with the 135.2. I'm sure he would have wished to have a better qualifying. Very unfortunate for the Haas when his teammate Jimsy in the same exact car, the same exact engine, is set a 131.2 and is in P4 right now. He's going to be trying his best to carry the Constructors' Championship points for the team and make Gunther proud.
As we are coming to a close on this qualifying session, very good laps from everybody. Esther Prada is 15 seconds off of his previous time. Is he just going to try to bring it to the pits nice and easy to preserve those soft tires that he took out for 2 laps? As
that was interesting.
Very interesting from Esther Prada. He's actually just going to take the checker. He's going to take the checkered flag. As we pull on to our qualifying timing screen, Rubix, you could take us through it when we get there. But a pretty impressive qualifying from the drivers.
Man,
AJ takes good pole.
I've really only seen not a whole lot from these drivers, as I did actually miss last week. But in pole position, we have AJ for Alfa Romeo Racing with a 130.7. Next, we got Jet, then Kulex for your top 3. Jimsy in 4th. Mr. Tafter in the Renault in 5th place. And Bun in 6th. Mickey Dawi? I believe
Mickey the Wiz.
Mickey the Wiz.
My bad. In 7th, Funny Monkey in 8th, Poseidon in 9th, Honey Badger 10th. That's your top 10. In 11th place, we have Tech Jones, which is surprising to see him down there. We got Asami in 12th, Esteprada in 13th, Top Morph in 14th, excuse me. 15th is Paradox, 16th, Plyfo Keep, 17th, Darth, 18th, N, 19th, B++, and 20th, Gummy Panda. I apologize for butchering all of those names, but we'll definitely see. And I can't wait for this race start here.
It's going to be very exciting to see what happens after a very intense Hungaroring race where we saw essentially a huge battle between P1 and P2. Jetty taking out the win between almost like a 15-lap old battle. And P1 to P4 was very close in that race, and it seems like it's even closer this race, almost all the way up to P8. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here at the race start and throughout the race. I'm going to see many drivers hungry for a win, hungry for a podium, so I'm excited to see what can happen today.
The thing that these drivers really have to be careful of is that turn 1 isn't really going to be too much of a turn for these cars. So they're going to be going super, super fast into that turn 2, and then that really, really long turn 3 to the left. That's going to be something interesting that these drivers are going to have to cope with.
As we now are hopping on to the formation lap. Rubix, you came a little late, but I want to hear from you. Who are your drivers to watch for today?
Well, the reason that I was saying about being pretty surprised about Tech Jones in 11th is, as you remember, he did actually win the first round. I'm not sure who was the victor of last round, if you guys could inform me about that.
Yeah, so we saw Jetty and Jimsy having a very long 15-lap battle there where Jetty was able to pull out just by a couple tenths in the final lap. So Jetty is the race winner right now, trying to hold the crown and win again in Sochi today, but we see AJ in P1 actually. After an unfortunate DNF for him at the Hungaroring, he's really going to be wanting to make a statement, and that's reflected in his lap time.
Sounds good, sounds good. So my drivers, my top 3 are probably going to be AJ, Jet, and I believe I have faith in Mr. Tafter. I feel like he can make up a few places and fight for that top podium position.
So let's hear from you, Giants. Who is your driver to look for today? We have a formation lap collision between N-Bun and Mickey the Wiz. You never want to see that. They're gonna have freezing cold tires. Sorry there, Justin. Giants. Oops.
Yeah, very unfortunate
Who
for
are
those
your
two
drivers
drivers.
to look for today?
Yeah, so I was looking forward to seeing Tech Jones, who I believe was a pole sitter at the first round in Austria, but he's right now sitting in P11. I told him before this race I was going to live vicariously through him as he is using my setup. But evidently, I guess my setup's just not enough around Sochi anymore, where he sits P11. Very unfortunate for the former race winner in Austria, Tech Jones, who might have to make a little bit of a comeback drive here and try to get in that top spot once again.
Very true, very true. Very surprised with Tech Jones, but he is kind of my pick as well, because he is in P11, but he is starting on those medium tires, and he actually is going to be surrounded by soft runners. So he is electing to go for the different strategy. It's actually only Tech Jones and Ply for Keeps on those medium tires. So we should see how this lines up. As I'm also going to take Awesome. She's quick. She can make up some spots off the start. And I think that in that racing point, they're going to be very good. And somebody inside the top 10, I'm going to go with Jimsy, because I saw his pace in Hungary. Very, very, very impressed. I think he's going to have a good race here again today.
Looks like the
all these drivers are forming up. Sorry to cut you off there, Rubix.
No worries there, Tom. I think I might take the race start here if you don't mind.
All you.
All right, here we go. Let's see what these drivers can do. 27 laps here at Sochi. We got 5 lights on, and there's this glitch already again. We're going to see when they actually go, and away we go here in Rush. Everybody seems to get a very even start. Look at Mr. Tapster and Renault all the way behind. It looks like AJ actually got a pretty great start. Once again, that turn 1 really isn't anything. We're going to see some moves as N retires from the session, Poseidon retires from the session, and we have a safety car already before there's even a corner. So I don't even know what happened there. There just seemed to be a collision, 2 DNFs, and there are now 18 drivers remaining with 1 with a penalty, and that looks like Top Morph is actually without a front wing. Very lucky to get away from that. But we're going to be under safety car for a few laps here.
Yeah, that was a very
Wow.
unfortunate crash in the back there. We saw almost absolute mayhem at the back of the straight. I'm very interested to see what happened there. It was a multi-car collision with very intense wing damage for all drivers involved. There was only 2 DNFs from that, Moseiden and N7. Very unfortunate for the 2 drivers. N7, a newly full-time driver, and Moseiden wanting to make a statement at McLaren. Now only Paradox is left to make up some points for the McLarens, who are just salvaging their parts off the racetrack right now. After a week's worth of practice, these drivers are going to be very unhappy to have either wing damage or have DNF'd before even getting to turn 1. I know that Moseiden was looking forward to this race a lot, and so was N7, so it's very unfortunate to see, and I'm very interested to rewatch that replay and see what happened in the back there. As we saw coming down to turn 1 in this TV cam we have, there was absolute mayhem in the back.
All right, well, it looks like that these drivers are just going to start to clump up here. Maybe those medium runners, I don't know if they might have chosen the wrong strategy here. Let's see if anybody actually does go into the pits. Maybe they wanted to qualify high and then go on to mediums, but we're just going to see. It looks like nobody's going to dive into the pits. Everyone's just going to stay with their initial strategy here, and we'll see if those mediums are going to be able to last.
We actually see that Darth, the Williams driver, now in P13, actually went in the pits, as well as B++, Awesome, and Morph. I'm not sure if all these drivers were involved in the collision. I guess we'll find out later or after watching the replay, but it seems like that was a ginormous collision where multiple drivers were involved. And there was just debris flying everywhere, and these drivers were just essentially scared for their life going into turn 1.
So it appears that these bottom 4 drivers are going on to hards. Or is that Awesome? Awesome's on softs. So Awesome is electing for the alternate strategy here. Awesome is definitely going to have to pit again. I'm not sure about the other drivers. I think they can take those hards all the way to the end. What are your guys' opinions?
They most definitely can, coming from a driver who did get wing damage on lap 1 of a rush. So you can take those hard all the way to the end and have no problems at all for your tires. So these guys are going to be on the super long stint now, not looking at their pit team once again, unless they do unfortunately get damage. But those hards can last the whole race, and I think the mediums can last from around lap 8 or 9, which is what these soft runners might pit to, maybe 11 as well. But the later the better for the mediums, but it's an easy one-stop for all these drivers, even from lap 1.
Yeah, speaking of easy one-stops, we see that Awesome actually pitted onto the sauce on lap 1. That's a very interesting call from the Racing Point Garage. I wonder if that was a mistake or intentional. Now Awesome is on fresh softs. Let's see what she will be able to do here in P17. Gonna try to make a charge up the field. Most of the other drivers are on softs. We actually see that N-Bun made an overtake onto Mr. Tafter. He must have went off the track a little bit there. Oh, and the positions actually switched back. That could have been a bug. We see N-Bun's a Ferrari now in P7. AJ still stays in P1, and Jetty stays in P2. Kulex in P3, as there was not much moves to be made, as the safety car came out right at the end of turn 1 for these top 3 drivers. Most drivers are staying in their original positions from the race start. So it's going to be very interesting to see when the lights go out how AJ is going to handle the restart and how he's going to elect to bunch the pack up and then eventually go for a mad dash for the finish line. Going to try to build as much space to Jetty, the very dangerous AlphaTauri driver, in terms to AJ's provisional win right now. And Jetty
actually asked the Prada hop into the pit. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, so it looks like Esteprada is going to elect to go onto a change of tire compounds as well. Let's watch what he goes on to.
I think the hards should be the right choices. Yes, he does pit on the hards. Doesn't lose him too many spots because he was sitting in, I think, P16 or P15 if I'm correct. And he'll definitely be able to catch back up before they go green again at the end of this lap.
He did change that front wing as well, so he definitely had some damage at some point, but it just seemed like a late call from the Racing Point Garage. They definitely could have double stacked under the safety car there and not lost too many positions, but Awesome's up into 16th now, Top Morph 17th, and Esteprada in 18th.
It seems like these drivers are very bunched up right now. It looks like they're roaring and ready to go at the end of this lap for the safety car restart. The safety car coming out almost immediately from the pit lane on lap 1. Not much time for these drivers to really compete with each other. I see a little bit of awkwardness right now between TOP Morph and Awesome. I'm not sure what's going on between these two.
Well, they did collide at some point. Maybe there's some wing damage to the Mercedes behind, but they both got a 5-second penalty for that. And there is actually some wing damage. I saw a canard, an end plate. Sorry, I called it a canard. An end plate coming off of the front wing there.
Is that
I
the
can't
Williams
tell.
or Darth? That's
That
the
is
Williams
the
or Darth.
Williams.
Wonder
All
what
those
happened.
hard tires. That is not what you want.
He's
Did you have the whole rest of the race that you were looking to go on these tires for?
Yeah, Darth is going to be furious with that wing damage, having just pit under the safety car, switching to this hard compound. Now his strategy is completely changed, and unfortunately he's going to have to pit, and that's going to put him in the back slot for the race restart. Now we see that Ostomy and TOP Moore both have 5 seconds penalties for colliding under the safety car, so very unfortunate for those two drivers, both Mercedes-powered cars. Someone at the top spot of Mercedes is not going to be happy with these two.
The safety car is in this lap, so we're going to see some more racing here in Russia, just outside the amusement park, one of the bigger amusement parks in Russia. You can see it over the grandstand sometimes, and there's another 5-second penalty for Ostomy with another, and 2 more 5-second penalties for Gummy and Darth, so there's penalties all up the grid, and the race hasn't even restarted yet. We're going to see where, as AJ actually goes very early, Jet stays with AJ, and here we go. Green flag here in Russia. It looks like Jimsy going around on the inside of Kuleks there, bumping them up into the podium positions. We're gonna see if these drivers can behave themselves, diving hard into turn 3. Jimsy's holding that inside, pushes Kuleks a little bit off the track, and Kuleks gets his exit compromised as Mickey goes around the outside. They're 3 wide going around the left-hander there, braking hard down into this next right-hander. These drivers really did behave themselves the second time around. Maybe they learned from that race start.
Definitely. They did keep it cool. Didn't do anything super aggressive because it's only lap 4. You just want to keep it nice and smooth because you do have to survive for the rest of this race, and these drivers cannot afford any damage now, as that would send them tumbling to the back of the pack.
Yeah, we see the P3 to P6 are very close right now. There's this yellow flag in Sector 2. I'm interested to see who that is. Right now we see Mr. Taft.
It's Morph.
Oh,
Morph
TOP
is
Morph.
stopped. He's still stopped, trying to turn his car around. What kind of damage does he have to his car? I wonder what exactly happened there.
Doesn't look like any.
It doesn't look like any damage. Maybe he just clipped a wheel and got lucky that he didn't DNF, but nevertheless, Morph is not getting the start that he really wanted. Mercedes is not going to get any great points, as there's one Mercedes out of the race and the other one's in last place. He is on the hards though, so hopefully he doesn't have to pit again, but he does have that 5-second penalty.
Yeah, we
As
see.
Jetty is getting very close to AJ coming out of the final corner. Jetty actually sets the fastest lap, as he's actually he is probably turning all of his engine up right now. No, I think he just turned it down. He does not want to make this move into turn 1. He wants to keep it nice and cool.
Moves.
Save that ERS. He might just want to pull away with AJ.
As long as he stays in DRS zone, which I don't think has been enabled yet, it'll probably be enabled on the next lap, because that'll be 2 laps under safety car. This is only lap 5. We started on lap 4. So there's actually a position change down at a 14th, as B++ on the hards overtakes Gummy Panda on the softs. So that's something very interesting back in the backfield there. AJ is 3 seconds ahead of Jet in the lead. Jet, this fight is not over between Jet and AJ. Jet does get a little bit better of an exit. He brings that delta down to 2/10. He can smell the exhaust fumes. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. Somebody is off. Who is that? Is that Gummy Panda?
It looks like it was actually
that's
Funny Monkey.
Funny Monkey.
That is Funny Monkey doing pirouettes. He's got to get that car straightened up. Those tires are not going to be very happy with him.
You know, we see that he has some left end plate damage there to his wing. He's going to have to recover that by going into the pits. Very unfortunate for the Alpha Tauri driver there, as we see Jetty and AJ have built a 2-second gap to P3. Very impressive from the two drivers, keeping in their DRS with each other and just trying to build a gap to the other drivers behind. We see that P4, P5, P6, P7, and P8 are all very close to each other right now, essentially building a DRS train, fighting for these positions, going for a podium.
DRS is now enabled. Jet is 0.1 seconds. He's going for the move. He tries to go around the outside of AJ, going into that turn. He goes way off the track. Don't pull a Carlos Sainz there, Jet. Now he's on the inside for the super long left-hander, but AJ's going to have the inside for turn 4 here. Jet gives him a lot more space than he probably really has to, but he gets the better exit. And Jet is now your race leader, and he does keep that position as he goes defensive into turn 5
He's
here.
the switchback.
AJ getting the switchback. He's gonna get the inside for turn 7. He does get the inside and gets the move done. And he is back in the lead for Alfa Romeo. So Jet's gonna have to wait for the next DRS zone in order to make that move. They did lose a second to the cars behind because of this fighting. So if they fight again, Kulix will now be in the mix as Mickey actually gets up into 5th place for Red Bull, making that overtake on Mr. Tafter.
Oh, and we see Jetty actually trying to make another move around the outside of AJ, coming to the slow section, trying to make it stick. Jetty and AJ getting very close, giving very little room to AJ on the side of the track. AJ's able to stick it very well. Oh, AJ! Oh, and Jetty actually hits the back of AJ, and he spins. Kulix moving up to P2. Jetty, that's very unfortunate for Jetty, the AlphaTauri driver, who's having an amazing start, an amazing battle with AJ. He unfortunately got a little bit squirrely there in the low traction zone. AJ, the Alfa Romeo driver, and caused damage and a spin to Jetty. Kulix now moves up to P2, 1.3 seconds away from AJ. Jimsy in P3, we actually missed the move where Kulix made on the Haas driver of Jimsy into turn 1, and now Kulix is promoted into P2, chasing after the Alfa Romeo driver AJ. Jimsy now, we actually see Tech Jones makes an overtake onto N-Buns on the front straight. N-Buns trying to make a retaliation here on the left-hander, but he just unfortunately does not have enough momentum. Beautiful driving from the top 8 right now. Some amazing battles between everyone, and we see that everyone is just getting involved, getting scrappy with each other. The fight for the lead is very intense right now, with AJ just sticking it ahead after, unfortunately, Jetty just hits into the back of him.
As actually for P14, we have Darth and Gummy Panda into turn 3, the long left-hander, side by side. As Gummy Panda with the soft tires tries to make the move, and they touch! Gummy Panda into the wall.
And that's really something really bad for Red Bull. Mickey made his way up into 4th place, but now Gummy is probably going to find his way in close to last place here. He's going to have to pit for a new front wing. That just ruined his entire race with that penalty as well.
And here we see Mickey DeWiz trying to recover for Red Bull, like you said, in P4. That's a good amount of points for the Red Bull team and the constructors if he's able to pull it off. We see Jimsy actually only 0.6 off of the Williams of Kulix. He's going to be in DRS range. Kulix might be in DRS range of AJ. It's going to be very interesting to see. Just teetering between 1 second.
He's well into 1 second now, and we'll see if that DRS is going to open for him. It does look like it opens for him. He is outside of 1 second at this point. He got a bad exit out of that final corner, but I believe he can make that up. There's still a long, long race ahead of him, and they are still within a second. Kulix, interesting line there going through turn 2.
He may have picked up a warning for that, so he's going to have to keep it super careful to get no track extends.
Definitely. You don't want to see these drivers get any of those penalties because they're getting some unfair advantages that the stewards are going to maybe have some homework later.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen a lot of big collisions already, only 8 laps into the race. We see Mr. Tafter actually only 0.6 off of Mickey DeWiz, the Red Bull driver here, trying to just pull back after an unfortunate crash for his teammate Gummy Panda, all the way down in P17 now. Mr. Tafter is going to be looking for blood with his teammate Tech Jones, who started in P11, now in P6, only after 8 laps. Some beautiful overtaking, I'm sure, is happening from this previous race winner, Tech Jones. Very wonderfully done, as he's going to be chasing down his teammate on the back straight. They both will have DRS on the cars in front. Mr. Tafter now only 0.5 off of Mickey DeWiz in P4.
There's a fight going on down for P14 there. 3/10 remaining between the two of them, but they're both making some mistakes. Esteprada trying to make up some more positions here, both on hards. One's a Williams, one's a Racing Point. We're going to see if they can make any moves happen here. Even though it's not for any points, it looks like Esteprada looks down the inside of Darth, and he does make the move as Darth actually goes up the inside, pushing the Racing Point off. And that Williams is back in front. That Racing Point can't make any moves.
That Williams, Rubix, he has wing damage, so he is holding on very nicely for having significantly less downforce than the Racing Point driver of Esteprada, as he just was super late on the brakes.
pointing that out, Tom. I was not looking at that. I was looking at the racing. So we'll see if Jimsy can actually make a move on Kulaks up into P2 and 3 because they are 5/10 apart. Jimsy, excuse me, is deep into DRS range here. We're going to see if he can actually make any moves under DRS. I don't know. The DRS Jet actually gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for track limits. So not only did he have that spin, trying to make us some time now, he's got a penalty.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, there was actually a little bit of a battle between P14 and P13. Once again, Esteprada and Darth fighting around the long left-hander there. Esteprada coming out on top as Darth has that wing damage. And unfortunately, 8 seconds of penalties as well. A very good battle happening between these two drivers in P13 and P14. Oh, and Darth actually hits the wall again. Unless that was desync, that's going to be very unfortunate for the Williams driver as his teammate Kulaks is in P2 right now.
Jimsy within 4/10 now. Ostomy gets a 3-second time penalty. It looks like Jimsy catches up in the DRS zones, but Kulaks is just a little bit better in the corners. When is the pit window for all of these soft runners?
I believe it should be lap 10 or 11, but judging by that safety car, they might try to stretch them out to lap 12 or 13 and just go right to your medium tires till the end.
A lot of overtaking for those hard tire runners down in under 12th position. They're going to make most of their overtakes in the pits, of course. They're going to save about 20 seconds doing so, so they'll make up quite a few positions, maybe even 10. But we'll just have to see if they can hold those hards off and work those hards in Russia for them to be competitive with all of the medium runners who will be going soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now we're focusing on the hard drivers, but then a soft runner right now, actually, Jetty, he made his way back up the field, just made an overtake onto N-Buns coming into turn 1, now in P7 with 3 seconds of penalty, going to be hunting down the pack once again like he did at the Hungaroring last week.
Okay, never mind. Gummy Panda letting drivers through. I got really worried there, and I thought that was the Red Bull of Mickey, but no, it's Red Bull Gummy Panda adhering to those blue flags, letting all these drivers go through.
The driver that I said I wanted to see, Tech Jones, has made up 5 positions now on those mediums. He's going to actually stretch it out longer than the drivers on the softs. So while everyone in front of him is going to dive into the pits, he's going to stay out. So we're going to see as he's actually fighting with his teammate now on the softs. Maybe some team orders going to happen down the straight, as it looks like Mr. Tafter does dive into the pits. He is the first to do so. And now Tech Jones is going to try to make his hunt in the top 5 to the soft runners ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see the strategy call here, as Tech Jones is currently on the mediums with no one ahead of him on the medium strategy. He will be provisional P1 once everyone pits here, the top 4 besides him. And then behind him, P6 and P7 are also on the softs. The closest medium runner is Plyfo Keeps 10 laps on the mediums in P8 there. And we see a very close top 5 here, with all drivers essentially in the DRS train of each other, just trying to make anything stick. Going to be making some bold moves, I'm sure, in the upcoming laps. We see that Mickey DeWiz actually has a little bit of an oversteer there, just trying to gain everything out of the car to catch up with Jimsy. He's only 6/10 off, still in DRS range for this back straight upcoming. He's a reserve driver and really putting on a show for Red Bull. It might be an Alex Albon-esque situation, or maybe he's able to shock the world coming from a reserve.
Doing what Alex Albon could not do.
Poor Alex Albon is going to be crying in the paddock right now watching this commentary. He was having slander to his name.
Alex Albon, if you're out there, give us a call. You know, maybe you can race in here and be a little bit more successful than that number 2 cursed Red Bull spot.
Yeah, we actually see that one of the cursed Red Bulls and P3 and P2 are actually diving into the pits, with Jimsy, Kulaks, and Mickey all going into the pits. We'll see what they elect to switch to. Will it be the mediums? Will it be the hards? Tech Jones now up to P2. AJ still stretching those softs, going for an overcut on these drivers, it seems. We can see that Jimsy is...
There you go. Finish up. My bad, Giants.
We can see that they're actually switching onto the medium compound tires right now. Very good strategy call from the pit box of these teams. Very interesting to see what they go on. If Tech Jones is on the mediums currently, we'll see how long he's able to stretch those out before assumingly going onto the soft tires to finish out the race. We now have Honey Badger DTF, another driver who's going for an overcut, my bad. he's now in P3 on 11 lap old sauce. AJ in P1 with 11 lap old sauce. It's going to be very interesting to see where he comes out after he pits. Tech Jones right now 4 seconds behind AJ. AJ still has very strong pace for a soft runner.
It does seem like he is pulling away from Tech Jones. He pulled away 3/10, so those softs are still working for him, but how long is he going to stretch these out? Is he going to react to all the drivers behind him, or is he going to try to stretch a lead because his softs are still good and maybe all the other ones weren't? We're going to see how interesting these strategies are going to turn out to be, as Tech Jones, once AJ does eventually pit, he's going to be our race leader. But remember, he still has to pit. So that's definitely something we got to keep in mind.
And we actually see AJ P1 right now going into the pits, electing to take it nice and slow into the pits to avoid getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lanes. We're assuming that he's going to pit onto the mediums. Now Tech Jones up into P1 with 12 laps on those medium tires. Plyfo keeps. He started back in P16, now up to P4 on those medium tires. We're going to see what he's able to do with that medium strategy compared to the soft runners. Honey Badger DTF now also the last soft runner diving into the pits. We see a lot of drivers electing to go into the mediums here, and it's going to be a very interesting strategy. We see AJ actually going onto the mediums as well. Tech Jones still in the lead right now with Plyfo Keeps in P2, 20 seconds away. So Tech Jones is almost a full pit stop away from Plyfo Keeps right now with AJ 1.6 seconds behind. He's going to have a huge pace advantage on those 12-lap old mediums.
Unfortunately, Honey Badger dove into the pits a little bit too fast there. He picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that's going to definitely hurt his final race time, as Tech Jones is 20 seconds clear of second position. So if he can actually stretch this out, maybe he has the race pace, as it looks like he's actually gapping Ply behind. He might get a free pit stop on his hands. It's definitely something that you can't take out of the equation here.
Yeah, definitely. This pace from Tech Jones is gonna be rewarding him here. He started in P11, and I'm sure, as you guys remember, he was my driver to watch at the beginning of the race, and he's really proving it. So he's trying to do everything he can to squeeze as much pace out of the medium tires. Now made a 21-second gap to P2. We actually see AJ coming up onto Plyfo Keeps right now, making a dive down the inside. Very nicely done by AJ, keeping it inside the track limits.
Super loose. Power Keeps almost losing the car. And that puts Jimsy all over the back of him. He's actually going down the inside into the chicane. Very courageous move from Jimsy, and he gets it done beautifully.
Beautiful racing from these drivers here. Definitely capitalizing on anything that these drivers do wrong. These mistakes are going to hurt, especially if you're racing in something as competitive as a Formula One car.
Exactly. Beautifully said. Rubix is actually, I think Tech Jones is going to try to stay out until around 11 to go, 10 to go. Then he's going to jump in for those soft tires, because I believe he can stretch it out for a medium soft strategy. So we're going to see how this overcut works. Now AJ has the clean air, and he's just going to try to gun for Tech Jones ahead. As we have yellow flags in Sector 1, that's Gummy Panda letting everybody through once again. It's actually, we have side by side Mr. Tafter and Plyfo Keeps, as he makes a beautiful move, as Mickey tries to sneak around the outside of Plyfo Keeps, as Plyfo Keeps loses out on 2 positions. As he actually fights it back down the inside, and Mickey makes a beautiful move around the outside on those 13-lap old mediums of Plyfo Keeps. As Plyfo Keeps loses out on 2 spots in 1 corner, as now he has Jetty all over his gearbox, as Jetty gets a beautiful run, looking to go around his outside. As he does, as Plyfo Keeps is just tumbling down the order, and he gets super loose. And that is just going to have Jetty through easily, as this is what Plyfo Keeps does not want.
I wonder if that Alpha has any damage on that car, because he is really struggling there. Maybe his tires are a bit warm. Maybe they're not working for him yet. We'll see where he actually ends up. Maybe he can find some pace later on in the race. Looking up the order here, AJ is actually catching Tech Jones by about half a second a lap. So he does still need to stretch these mediums out a little bit longer so that he can push super hard on the softs and catch AJ. But I don't believe at the pace that he's going right now that he is going to get a free pit stop. But he won't be far behind AJ when he does end up coming out. He's going to have to find Jimsy and Mr. fight Jimsy and Mr. Tafter behind AJ. So maybe that'll slow him up, but we'll have to see. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like, is that who is actually spun out there? It looked like it was a Haas driver.
I'm not sure, but we see B++ going to the pits. It could have been him. I'm
He
not
does have wing damage.
Yeah, the hard driver actually electing to go into the pits. It was evident it was him that had a little bit of a spin there. Unfortunate for the Haas driver, as we actually saw that Plyfo Keeps also elected to go into the pits. He switched from the mediums to the hards. Very interesting strategy for Plyfo Keeps, as according to FIA regulations, he's going to have to switch onto another compound of tires besides the mediums to finish the race. So given the length that he has to go, he elected to go into the hards, and we actually see very unfortunate for Kulix. He disconnected from the session. The driver in P7, that AI driver, is going to make him lose a lot of pace here.
Yeah, I don't think he has Lando bot. He's in a Williams right now. Kulix has joined back, so hopefully he can get into his car as quickly as possible. And AJ is now within 19.5 seconds. He's just catching. Tech Jones is under pressure from a long ways back, but you're just gonna have to see what these two drivers are going to make of the different strategies.
We actually see that Tech Jones is now electing to go into the pits. The provisional P1 driver now pitting onto the sauce, going to try to make those sauce stretch for 11 laps here.
I believe 11 laps is basically the maximum you can make those softs go. If
there goes AJ.
Quality lap.
There goes Jimsy. There goes Tafter. There goes Mickey. There goes Jetty. We're gonna see where Tech Jones actually comes out of the pit.
In front.
He does come in front of Jetty, but Jetty definitely has the run. He's going around the outside of the Renault. Tech Jones on those brand new softs. He pushes Jetty off the track a little bit, but Jetty does get the move done on him. A very unfortunate pit stop for Tech Jones. He finds himself into 6th place. We got a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like the racing point of Asami made a little bit of an oopsies, and he went into the side of Top Morph. There's wing damage, and both of these drivers are probably going to have to pit. The Mercedes does pit. He has wing damage. I don't think Asami has any. If anything, he might have a little bit.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the two drivers. We could see a little bit of a rivalry forming between TOP Morph and Asami. Now we're watching Tech Jones on the softs, a 0-lap old softs, behind Jetty on the 3-lap old medium compound tires. We're going to see who has the pace advantage here. Tech Jones on the fresh softs. He's going to be making a move down the back straight. Very easy for Tech Jones, getting just simply a better exit on the softer compound tires. Will Jetty be able to fight it? It looks like unfortunately not. Tech Jones is going to be slipping up into P5. Oh, and actually, it looks like Mr. Tafter actually lost the car a little bit, getting wing damage, it seems. He's also another soft runner. My apologies, he did not get wing damage, fortunate for him. Oh, no, he did. He actually lost the left end plate. He's going to be going into the pits.
As this makes Tech Jones have a much easier time now, as he has a monumental task to catch up to these front guys on the medium tires. He'll have the pace advantage, and he should make an easy move on Mickey, as he does. Those soft tires are going to be so fresh off the start of the stint. He has to make up as much time as possible, as he has 3 seconds off of these guys. He has to push for his life.
The thing that I'm putting into consideration is that he has DRS on all of these drivers, and if you guys have been paying attention to his sector times, he's been setting purple sectors, which is, he's setting them faster than what Jetty's going, and he set those purple sectors on the mediums. So Tech Jones sets a purple sector 1, and he only had DRS through the front straight there. 2.6 seconds behind Jimsy. He already made up a half a second, and he's just charging forward on those medium runners up ahead, but he's going to have to try to nurse the car home at the end. He is definitely pushing a little bit too hard, in my opinion, for those tires.
You could actually see an amazing charge, though, from Tech Jones, like you said, pushing the hell, really, out of those soft compound tires, trying to catch up to the medium runners. AJ has 3 laps on his mediums, and Jimsy has 4 laps, so he's definitely going to have a little bit of a pace advantage for the time being, but it all depends on tire management in these Formula 1 cars, and will Tech Jones be able to pull it off to catch up by the end?
He's now already within 2 seconds. He made up a second on Jimsy ahead, who is the second place runner. I'm sure AWS would pop up with the predict striking distance in 2 laps, overtaking difficulty. Not very difficult, as he sets a 133.3 for the Renault team. Fastest lap of the race by, I believe, almost a second. We'll see. He is going to catch these drivers without too much, as actually Jed is trying to get a run on Mickey ahead. Mickey is actually going to do a late defense as Jetty goes around the inside, but that gives Mickey the inside for turn 3, excuse me, and you could just see the pace advantage to taking the inside here. Jet's not going to make the move done on this particular occasion.
As Mickey is blinking, so he's under 10% ERS. Jetty's mouth is watering. He needs this move done. He knows that his ERS is running out.
1.3 seconds for Tech Jones in third place. He's making up just an incredible amount of time. He's going to be on DRS zone soon. He's going to catch Jimsy ahead. There's going to be nothing Jimsy can do, and Tech Jones just outside the DRS zone as he comes through this straight. He gets a little bit of a worse exit than Jimsy, but he's just hovering at that 1 second point as Darth does get a 3-second time penalty. Jet does make the move done on Mickey as we missed that a little bit, I believe, but he is up now into 4th position. Tech Jones now safely within a second to Jimsy. His lines are a little bit better because he has more grip and he has a little bit more confidence in the car. Coming through the second to last corner and now coming through the final corner, we're going to see if Tech Jones can do anything on this front straight as he has 0.3 seconds. That DRS is going to open up for him. 0.2, 0.1, looking over in the inside. Tech Jones now into 2nd position, and now he's looking at AJ up ahead, and he almost overshoots it. He locks up his front left, and he's almost in DRS zones to AJ. Definitely a charge from Tech Jones with 8 laps remaining in this race.
He is making these soft tires work a charm for him as he made that, he was one of only 2 drivers on that opposite strategy to go to the medium softs, and it is just working beautifully for him as he's already 5/10 off of AJ, gaining every single corner.
You can actually
This is going to be a relatively easy move.
We can actually see that AJ is blinking from time to time here, meaning that he's under 10% ERS. He's been using everything that his car has to offer to stay in front of Tech Jones on the soft compound right now. We see he's blinking again on the back straight. Tech Jones should have a relatively easy time getting around AJ. He goes around the inside into this turn, and he locks up a little bit, but he should have the move done. AJ following closely behind on the medium compound tires, but unfortunately it's just not enough for the Alfa Romeo driver to stay in P1, with Tech Jones having a huge pace advantage on these young soft tires.
Now that Tech Jones is in the lead, now he has to get outside of DRS range, and once he does that, he really needs to calm down this pace a little bit. He has the pace advantage, but he's got to bring those softs home. He's at a 132.9.
As he goes even quicker as he is driving the tires off, and that can come back to
in sector 2. That's going to be a Red Bull off down below. I think that's just Gummy Panda letting drivers through. I was a little bit scared. Gummy Panda, you're scaring the stewards and the commentators.
And we actually see Mickey DeWiz and Jetty going side by side. Sorry to cut you off. I think there was a little bit of contact there between Mickey DeWiz and Jetty. Unless Jetty just got a little bit scared. He maybe had a little bit of a George Russell moment there. It looks like there's no wing damage on Jetty. He's going around the outside right now, coming into turn 3. Let's see if he'll be able to stick it.
Oh, they made contact. They touch. Mickey gets an off-track penalties. He may have to submit that to our stewarding team up in the box, as he did get hit off by Jet, forcibly putting himself down the inside.
Some great racing from these 2 drivers, but let's have a look ahead again. 1.6 second gap Tech Jones has. I'm a little scared for his tires. Once again, I mean, he has this amazing pace over the rest of the pack, but he is well out of DRS zone, and he really needs to try to save those tires. I'm going to keep saying it. That's definitely something that he really, really needs to pay attention to.
You can see that Gummy Panda actually DNFs from the session. I'm not sure if that's through his own retirement or if he just hit into a wall. Unfortunately, DNF, we see that there's a yellow flag actually in Sector 1, so we might see the remains of the Red Bull maybe somewhere around now.
Gummy Panda is in the pit lane, I believe, and he retired in the pits, and that pulled out the yellow flag because thank you, Codemasters. Gummy Panda has left the session, maybe. No, his car is still driving.
He is furious. Christian Horner is unhappy.
If he was Toto, he'd be slamming his desk right now. But Tech Jones does have a 2-second gap. Jimsy within that 1 second. We got to now take our eyes off Tech Jones as he's out in front. And we got Jimsy getting a little bit racy with AJ here, trying to get into that DRS as he does actually dip under the 1 second barrier, but it looks like he's not going to get DRS on this occasion here. And he is probably going to be within that 1 second. Actually, he gets a little bit of a poor exit. just outside of there. He's going to be teetering for a little while here.
Yeah, I see that Tech Jones' strategy must be to push the life out of these soft tires here and build as much of the gap as possible. So when those softs do eventually fall off, which is going to be inevitable, he will have enough pace to just stick in front of AJ until the very end. You can see that AJ is pushing the absolute life out of his car. 7 laps on his medium tires, 2.5 seconds off of Tech Jones now, who's done a very good job at building a gap to AJ, the very quick Alfa Romeo driver. Jimsy's still in DRS range of AJ, so AJ is not clear of any threats right now. We see Jimsy roaring to make a move sometime soon. Jetty 5.4 seconds behind. He's going to have to make up a lot of pace here to get back into the battle for the podium positions.
Tech Jones, if we talk about him again, this soft stint felt like a Sunday drive. I don't know what you guys think, but all of his overtakes were basically down the straights, and he's just making these tires, they're working. They are working very hard for him.
I could actually see Tech Jones sipping a pina colada, looks like, in the cockpit. In the driver's seat. No problem at all. Building a gap to AJ. 2.6 seconds behind on those 5-lap-old softs. Evidently has a lot of pace around Sochi today.
You can see his tires are already starting to drop off just a little bit. He's trying to push the car, and he's going just a tad bit wide on exit. You can see he's understeering just a little bit, but that pace advantage is still huge over the medium, so we'll see if that graining of the tires is really going to affect him in the later stages of this race. Is he actually going to make those softs go 10 laps?
Oh, we actually see that the ghost of Coolx and Esteprada had a little bit of battle there. Esteprada now moving up into P11, going to be chasing down Paradox in P10, trying to just salvage a little bit of points for a Racing Point here, or quite frankly, just not having a great race. We see Jimsy here doing his best in P3 to try to keep within DRS range of AJ, but AJ is definitely making it very hard for Jimsy. Now, almost teetering between 1 second for AJ, just trying to stay out of the DRS range.
Awesome, he retired from the session, VSC. What happened there?
Very interesting strategy change for all these drivers. Not sure what happened.
As a VSC, everybody should be okay. This is going to be beautiful for Tech Jones. This is going to be absolutely amazing for his tire life. As he gets to coast through couple of these corners and save that extra 1 or 2%, which can really make all the difference coming towards the end of this race.
Something happened to Tech Jones. Look at that delta. It was at 4, now it's at 1.8. Jetty's in the pits. Let's see what he's actually going to do here. Is he going to go on softs now? He is on softs. He's going to be able to push the absolute living crap out of this Alpha Tauri here. Definitely take the fastest lap from Tech Jones, who's going to have to nurse his car. And it is now green flag.
Drive through.
That's going to switch up as it looks like these Red Bulls are not having a good race today. AJ is now 4 seconds behind Tech Jones.
I believe he retired on track.
He did retire on track, unfortunately for Mr. Tafter there, but Mickey with that drive-through.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the reserve driver who was having a stunning race today, up in P4. Now he's unfortunately going to lose it all here, just staying above the Delta and the DLC, or in the VSC, my apologies, and just costing himself a drive-through penalty. That's crucial to the race finish, especially in this stage of the race, where every second is, or every millisecond really, is meaningful to the race. We actually see that AJ had a pretty poor VSC, where now he's 4.2 seconds away from Tech Jones. That is an incredible gap, and Tech Jones should not have a terrible time now managing the tire life and just sticking ahead of AJ for these final 3 laps of the race, going for his second win in NNR. Starting in P11, like I said, he is the driver to watch, and I may boast myself, he's actually using my setup. So we can see that the Giants setup is just amazing around Sochi. He's currently in P1.
I just want to let you know whose setup actually is that Giants. I believe it is not trimmed up to how you set it up from scratch.
I think that my radio is actually not working right now.
We're not gonna talk about that. Tech Jones on a Sunday drive. Mickey DeWiz, serving his drive-through, setting him down behind Jetty, who is behind N-Bun with a couple laps remaining. We know Jetty has the pace. He is on the softs. N-Bun is on the mediums. His mediums are much older than Jetty Soft, so we could see Jetty make a little bit of a charge past M-Bone, but I don't think he can make it anywhere near Jimsy, who is 21 seconds up the road from P4.
Something interesting here. Jimsy is comfortably in DRS range. Sorry to cut you off there, Tom, but they're entering a DRS zone here soon. We're going to see that Delta just go down and down and down. Jimsy might be able to make a move on AJ here. Let's see how much ERS both of them have been using, and we'll see if any of them can make any moves happen in these final 3 laps of the race.
Yeah, drivers here are definitely going to be trying to do everything in their possibilities here. Just make a move to try to cement a new position before the race ends in 3 laps. Very short amount of time for these drivers to make some final moves. We actually see that Jetty now reduce the gap from 2 seconds to less than a second on N-Buns. He will have DRS on this upcoming straight. N-Buns has very little pace compared to Jetty. On the soft tire compound with 0 laps on the tires, M-Buns has 12 laps on these medium compound tires. He also has 9 seconds of penalties, so even if he was to stay ahead of Jetty, he would have to build a 6-second gap, which unfortunately for N-Buns, it looks like Jetty is going to be making a move up the front straight, and he really shouldn't have a problem on these soft compound tires. It looks like Jetty has cemented himself for the time being a position of P4, as I do not see him making up 21 seconds in these next 2 laps up to Jimsy. Jimsy now fighting to keep within DRS range of AJ. There's going to be a very close battle here between Jimsy and AJ. We saw Jimsy involved in the battle last weekend with Jetty, having a 15-lap long battle for the win in the Hungaroring with Jetty pulling out on top. Will Jimsy be able to make a P2 move here in the last 2 laps of the race?
Jimsy picks up a 3-second.
That's going to ruin it for him.
He just went
his charge a little bit wide on that corner there.
Sector 3, yellow flags. Who is that?
I'm not entirely sure. It is Darth.
He's lighting up those rear tires. He cannot get the car spun around.
Oh, very unfortunate for Darth, who just got lapped through the leaders right now. Jimsy might have DRS on this upcoming straight on AJ. He might be able to gain some time, as AJ is 5.5 seconds away from Tech Jones. Tech Jones has no contention right now. All Tech Jones has to essentially do is keep out of a wall, and he wins the race. Jimsy activating ERS. Will he have DRS? He opens the flap. He's going to have some very nice pace on AJ. 4 tenths away now, 3 tenths, 2 tenths, 1 tenth. Will he make the move? No, he decides to back out. AJ still holding the line. AJ is going to be having a run for his money here in the final 2 laps of the race. Will Jimsy be able to do it? 13-lap old mediums for Jimsy, 12-lap old mediums for AJ. Going to be very similar pace here on the tires, with Jimsy only 1 lap older medium tires here. We'll see in this final lap if he's going to be able to make something stick. Only 4 tenths away now for Jimsy. AJ is seemingly driving for his life right now. He's just trying to keep that P2 position, trying to redeem himself after DNFing at the Hungaroring last weekend. Will Jimsy be able to make it stick down the back straight? 3 tenths off of AJ right now. He will have DRS. He's going to be activating overtake. He has about 30% now in the last 2 laps. We see AJ doing everything in his power to keep ahead. Will Jimsy be able to make a move? When Jimsy elects not to make a move, maybe he's going to decide to go for a move on the front straight here, as he feels he'll have more pace. Very amazing defending by AJ, like Echo says in the chat right now. Oh, and he runs a little bit over the curb.
He's just eyeing down his prey. AJ is driving for his life. Jimsy is like a hawk, and AJ is a little tiny mouse. As he's just waiting to pick his prey. We're coming on to the final lap. Sorry to cut you off the Rubik's, but I knew what you were about to say.
No worries there. Took the words right out of my mouth.
He has the DRS. He's barreling down this straight at 210 miles an hour. AJ blinking. He can't make the move. He's going to have to wait for the second DRS zone. This is going to be so close. Jim needs to put everything into this lap to stay as close as he can to that diffuser of AJ. Smelling that gas.
Honestly, what Jimsy really needs to do here is force AJ into a mistake, and maybe it'll give him a penalty of some sort. Because even if he does pass AJ, he's not going to win the race. He might win the race on track, but after penalties are applied, he's going to stay in that 3rd place position. So what Jimsy really needs AJ to do, just go a tad bit wide like he did and pick up a penalty for himself.
As yes, I totally just was not looking at the penalties as that his Jimsy has a penalty, but you know, an on-track finish into P2 would feel pretty good. As AJ's blinking, Jimsy has the speed as he is gonna just he elects to not pick his move, as I guess he is playing it smart, knowing that he does have that penalty. As we have Tech Jones 6 seconds up the road coming through the final couple of corners. It was a beautiful drive today for Tech Jones. He looks so comfortable, so smooth as he comes through the line, pulls to the inside, say hi to your team, and he wins the Saatchi Autodrome NNR race as that puts his gap in the championship, I believe, extends. As this was just a lovely drive from him, made the strategy work, made everything wrong as AJ comes in to P2, Jimsy P3. Jetty coming around the final two corners now on those soft tires, went for the strategy, did all he could, made it work as he finishes P4.
Oh, we actually see that Jetty hits into the back of the P14 driver. The Williams of Darth is trying to make the AlphaTauri lose some money here and repairs, even though the race already finished. That's some dirty tactics there from the Williams. After the checkered flag, we're seeing more drivers coming across the line now. We see Mickey DeWitt actually finishing P6 even after a drive-through. Very impressive finish. Thinking about the circumstances here that happened with Mickey DeWitt with the drive-through penalty, we see Honey Badger GTF now coming across the line. Plyful Keef's not able to make up the 2 seconds in order to promote himself into P7. Honey Badger should comfortably be in P7 right now, coming across the finish line right now. Plyful Keef's coming across the finish line as well, P8. Funny Monkey crossing the finish line, P9. Paradox should actually be promoted here into P9 due to penalties of Funny Monkey. Yeah, and we see Paradox actually slipped his way up to P9, and that is the finish of the race.
An amazing drive from all of these drivers here, and unfortunately we only really had 18 drivers for the entire race, but because of that lap 1 safety car, Tech Jones driver of the day in Codemasters, he's definitely my driver of the day. I don't know about you two. It looks like Tech Jones had an incredible drive today. And then we have AJ in second position for Alfa Romeo, picking up some good points for them. Jimsy in the Haas in third. Jet in fourth after an interesting strategy. He also has the best lap with Nbun in fifth. And then we're going to see Mickey in sixth, Honey Badger in seventh. Plyfo Keeps in eighth for Alfa Romeo, so a 2-8 for Alfa Romeo. Paradox in ninth, Funny Monkey in 10th. Esteprada for Racing Point in 11th. Funny Monkey, is going to be your final points finished. Kulex in the Williams in 12th, B++ in 13th, Darth 14th, Top Morph, I'm not sure which one it is, in the Mercedes in 15th. Not a bad result after all of the unfortunate circumstances that have happened to the Mercedes. Mr. Tafter in the Renault for 16th, Awesomey 17th in that Racing Point 18th, for Gummy 19th, Poseidon, and rounding out your 20 drivers is N. What a race that we had. Like I said before, thank you guys for accepting me, even though I was a few minutes late into this race. But you love seeing races like this, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. With the pace at the top of the field today, you really see the talent that these drivers hold behind their steering wheel. And again, for 3 weeks straight, we've just seen amazing battles for the win, coming down to the final laps, where we saw the fight for P2 between AJ and Jimsy tonight, and every single night, or every single race weekend, we just see an amazing battle for those podium positions.
Contradictory to the name of this league, No Name Racing, these no-namers might make a name for themselves if they keep driving like this.
And you guys stick around in the stream. We have interviews coming up in a moment's time.
Yep, so we should have the podium finishers coming into the interview room, and we will have some additional drivers as well to talk to about the outcomes of the race. So let's ping the top drivers right now. So we had Jimsy in P3, AJ in P2, and we had Tech Jones in P1. And we're going to be dragging them into the interview room. So let's hop into the interview room now, and let's start on these interviews.
All right, looks like we have quite a lineup. We have 8 drivers so far.
You have definitely a lot of drivers wanting to put their piece into the puzzle of what really happened on this race and all the events that unfolded.
Alrighty, a lot of drivers here. We're gonna wait just another minute to see if anybody else decides to join. Jimsy actually does decide to join, so we're gonna wait and we will interview everybody in this chat here. And thank you guys first and foremost for racing with us. If everybody would be so kind to mute their mics, and whenever I do call on you in order to talk, then you may unmute your mic just to keep everything professional and just nice and quiet in here so that there's nothing picked up in the background. So we're going to wait until 9:16 Eastern time, see if anybody else gets a little bit of a later join in here until we start the interviews.
I definitely wanted to point out to all the drivers sitting in here and everyone watching at home that we really did have an amazing race once again tonight at Russia. We saw Jimsy fighting for a podium position once again this weekend. Last weekend, Jimsy was fighting for the win. This weekend, he was fighting for P2. Unfortunate for him, AJ was able to hold him off in the final laps, and very fortunate for AJ himself.
Looks like Awesome. He's waiting to get in here as well. Let's see if somebody can drag him in. Her in, excuse me. I believe it's a her. But let's start off with Tech Jones, our race winner, our underdog in the Renault, making a statement for himself. Starting P11 on the mediums, what was going through your head whenever you saw all of those drivers pit and you were in the lead of the race?
I just thought I had to keep it up. I thought my pace coming through the field was pretty good. So, all I thought I had to do was keep that pace up, and I was going to be around second place, first place. So, yeah, I just tried to drive as fast as I could.
And you definitely did drive as fast as you could. I almost lost faith in your soft tires there at the end. I was afraid you were pushing too hard, as you actually did get a 2 to 3 second gap right away. Very impressive driving from you today, Tech. All right, so I believe in second place, if I stand correct, that was AJ, who held off Jimsy behind, which I'll get to you in just a second here, Jimsy. But AJ, what a race you had as you were trying to hold off Tech Jones for a lot of it. You were in the lead for a little while, and you were holding off Jimsy behind. What was your race strategy for today, and what did you try and do differently than you did for the previous races, maybe, to try to make yourself get that second place position?
I mean, last race I kind of DNF'd. An accident happened, but we're not going to focus on that. I just came into this race, head up high. Didn't want to make any mistakes. Tech had so much pace on the soft, so I just decided not to fight it and decided to just keep my position at P2. Jim Z was pushing. I made a mistake and went wide. Turn 2, I had to take the exit route, and he caught up a lot, but then he got a penalty, so I just decided to take it easy.
Some wonderful driving from the Alfa Romeo today in second place. AJ, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'm going to move on to Jimsy here, who was in third place. And you had some great pace, staying just outside of that 1 second to AJ to maybe get that second place. But what was going through your mind as soon as you got that 3-second penalty with 2 laps remaining?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt like I had the pace to get past. At the end there, I saw his light blinking, and I was at about 40% ERS at that point. So I knew I could get past, but as soon as that penalty came, there was no point in passing and risking a crash on AJ's part. He has no penalty, so there's no point in doing that. So I just decided to sit back and take home third.
It was definitely a great drive for you, Jimsy. Way to keep it on the track for most of it until the end there, but that's just very unfortunate that you got that penalty from the stewards, and hopefully you can get that second or maybe even win a race in the future of this No Name Racing League. Great drive from you today.
Thanks.
All right, Jed, I'm going to move on with you. Why did you pit with, I believe, 5 laps remaining on these softs? You were in a great position. Was it a free pit stop for you? Because you did pit into the go into the pits, and you did actually get that 1 point for the fastest lap. Just take me through what exactly happened there.
On our medium stint, we were making good time, and then we kind of got trapped into a lull where we weren't improving or decreasing delta at all to the car in front or behind. The VSC popped, and my engineer made the call to go to sauce because we weren't making up any ground. And worst case scenario, I could make up what I lost under the VSC. It was Davies, I think, that got a drive through, which really helped get Nuts one spot back, and then I forget who the other driver was that was in front, but we had a little battle, and I made pretty easy work of him. And then I was back into 4th on the softs and was able to put down that fast lap for the extra point.
Yeah, it was definitely a blazing lap from you, Jet. Good job on the fastest lap of the race, and good job to actually pull out that 4th position, I believe. But we will see who is next. I believe who was in 5th place. If Giant, if you could remind me.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think it was maybe NB, but I don't think he's in the interview room tonight. I could pull up the standings right now and check it out. But off the
Well,
top
while
of my
you're doing
head,
that, I'm going to go ahead and interview Mickey here, who was driving for Red Bull today. What exactly happened that you got that drive-through? Was it just for the VSC? Did the Codemasters just jump a little bit for you? Were you not paying attention to it all that much? What exactly happened?
VSC, I was 6/10 up in the delta, so I braked and it just went all the way down to -1, and then the VSC ended.
Very unfortunate for you there, but I apologize at the beginning, at the end of qualifying, excuse me. I completely
Oh yeah.
butchered your name, so I apologize for that, Mickey, but I have it right now, I believe. So
Yeah. All right.
great drive from you today to pull out that. Was that your 5th position, 6th position? That was 6th, right?
6, I think. Yeah.
Some good points for you today. So now we're actually going to move on to Honey Badger. Not a whole lot that I remember that actually happened with you. You did get a penalty at one point, but take me through what you did to prepare for this race, if you did even make any preparations for it.
So I have a 3-day-old, just became a father. So I was up at 3 feeding, so I didn't have much prep. But then from like 9 to about the race start, I was putting in hot laps and whatnot. I just wanted to take a nice, easy spin around the course, and I thought I was slowed down for the pit lane, but of course it was not. And then just got a little loose on one of the corners and tapped my front wing, and ended up having a pretty good time battle with Playful Keeps. We were chatting about it, but we both kind of were struggling to limp to the end, so it was fun to see that that Delta actually pay off. Used all of what was in the tank to get there.
How much fuel did you have left? Was it red, teetering between red
No,
and
I probably
green?
had a lap left, but I could have pushed it a little bit harder. But with that wing damage, I didn't want to end up at a pace that I wasn't prepared to drive at.
Makes sense, especially around that turn 3 super long left-hander. That front wing is really going to hurt you. But amazing drive from you today, Honey, with the circumstances. And I'm not entirely sure. Let me actually move on. Let me skip down the order to N. First lap. What happened there?
I got a pretty decent start. I no wheel spin, just straight. And right after the kink, turn 1, I think I had some contact with B++, and I just completely lost control there. And I couldn't control the car anymore, so.
Yeah, very unfortunate for you. Brought out the safety car, and you were out lap 1. How much preparation do you have going into this race?
I've been doing laps around Russia for the past week.
No, so unfortunate.
Pretty
That's
unfortunate, yeah.
definitely not something that you really want to see your race ending in under 30 seconds, but maybe next time you'll have a little bit better luck, and hopefully you can finish a little bit higher, make some points back.
hopefully.
Thank you for racing, N. And we're going to move on to Asami. So you were in the Racing Point. You had a few battles back behind with a Williams. Can't remember what the Williams was, but he had a little bit of damage. So you were just trying to defend your position and attack. Take me through exactly what happened.
To be honest, the battle from my point of view wasn't really that much of a deal. Like I've been in battle. It's just that I'm really freaking mad that I died going into that little corner that's turn one. So yeah.
Very unfortunate for you there, Asmi. Thank you for attending this race today. And I believe the only driver left is Morph. Where did you finish today, Morph?
I believe it was 15th, so
Okay.
last of everybody who is still racing.
The most important thing is you finished the race.
That
That's
is
not
true.
something that everybody can really say, and that's definitely something that you can be very proud of in around Russia. Just take me through exactly what went wrong here and what you could probably improve for the future.
There was a lot of incidents, definitely, especially in the beginning, lap one in the first turn in the kink. I got pushed over by I think it was Estaprada, and then I hit Poseidon, and we all went into the wall, and that was what caused the big safety car. So that pushed me back a lot after I had to pit for a wing, and then I think closer to the end of the race, I had a little battle with Asami, and then they spun out, and I hit him, so I had to pit again for another wing, and that was pretty much when I got settled into last place.
All right. Well, hopefully incidents like that don't happen next week.
Yeah.
Any questions that you have there, Giants?
No, I think that you hit all the bases there. I just want to reiterate once again, there was some amazing driving that went down this week. And I'm very excited to see what these drivers can do in 2 weeks from now in Baku, as we do have a break week next week. So it's going to be very exciting to see if Jimsy is finally able to secure one of the last lap battles, if he's able to come out on top, as he's been fighting Jetty and AJ in these last two races, trying to make anything stick. And we're going to see if next race, maybe he'll be able to even secure himself a win. So he is the driver to watch for next week.
I believe I don't think it's next week. I think
Or
it's
2 weeks.
2 weeks for the next race. And in 2 weeks, we will be at Baku, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you guys for watching. And I have a little bit of an announcement to make. I am unfortunately not going to be able to commentate for the rest of these races here. It looks like you, Giants, and Tom have really picked this thing up very, very quickly. I was quiet for half the race, which is definitely something that's not normal. So you guys are definitely going to be taking the reins from now on. But I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to commentate for this race. Thank you for the drivers for giving me something to commentate, and definitely something that I look forward to every Thursday that I can.
Yeah, thank you, Rubix. I really appreciate the kind words, and the same goes to you. Thank you for coming out, and thank you for commentating here for the 2 races that you were available, and we'll miss you in the future and hope that you could check out some of the races sometime soon.
Definitely be watching the replay there, but Giants, you can go ahead and take us out here.
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Thank you everyone that raced with us. Thank you everyone at home for coming to round 3 of NNR, the Russian GP, and we will see you guys again in 2 weeks at Azerbaijan, which will be a very exciting race. So everyone have a nice night at home, and we'll see you then.